Consumer Protection Alliance. That was a famous ad that depicted a lot of the Chinese chuckling at our expense, that they're just on the verge of just eating our economic lunch. Steve Moore, the chief economist at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, what are we to make of this? I mean, it was a day coming. It is an unusual number, but it is a number that confirms the trend regardless, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty god-awful number. And, you know, even if you account for the weather, and there's no question we would have had higher GDP had it not been for all the, you know, severe weather patterns that we saw in the Northeast and the Midwest, Neil. But even if you account for that, it's still a really lousy number. And the problem is we've been stuck, Neil, now for 5 years in this 2% or less growth path, and that just isn't enough to put Americans back to work or to allow them to get a pay raise. And this is the reason, you know, if you look at the latest Fox News poll, half of Americans think we're still in a recession. And, Neil, that's because for half of Americans, we still are in a recession.
You know, it's only a matter of time, David, I guess, before, even though the Chinese as recently as, you know, what, my gosh, 5, 6 years ago, we're growing at half our clip, and we're less than half our economic might, have made up so much ground in so little time. I guess if you're growing at a double-digit clip as we're barely growing at all, it figures, but it does humble you, because very few economic powers who lose that gold ever get it back.
Well, absolutely, and there are really two things to blame here, and well, let's say one thing, and that's Congress, because it's spending and it's taxation. When you have the excessive spending that we have in this country, you have to sell the debt. We have to sell these bonds, and we're selling them to China. They own about 8% of our total national debt. But also, Neil, look at the taxation angle of this. Right now, the corporate tax rate in China is 25%. In the U.S., it's 39%. That's the effective tax rate. It's 39% here in the United States. Now, why aren't we our corporate tax rate? Why aren't we doing comprehensive tax reform to get the economy back chugging again?
No, we're going the other direction, Steve. If you think about it, we're going the other way, and we're talking about hiking taxes and rules and regulations on business. We're pushing for to sort of bring this gap between the rich and the poor, but by forcibly bringing the rich down and making businesses pay out.
Yeah, we've got liberals now talking about, you know, not raising tax rates to 40, 50, 60%, but even 80%. And, you know, here's the problem. If we don't take competitiveness seriously in this country, we are going to fall behind. And I think, look, we have a world of potential. Our American companies are profitable right now. They've really re-engineered themselves and retooled themselves. Neil, you talk about this every week. Why aren't we more competitive? It's because of all these rules, all of the taxes and the regulations that are coming from Washington. But, you know, I still think the United States, I refuse to believe that China is going to become the #1 economy. I still think we're more competitive. We have a more free market system than they do, but we have to unleash it. We have to unleash it.
Well, we have to unleash it, but we're not unleashing it. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both. Now it's